Need a new thermometer.
All right, I think it's time. Welcome to the Pine County Board meeting. And just so you know, Commissioner Steve Holland, which is me, and JJ Weldham will be attending Pine County Board meeting by electronic means. I'm in Pensacola, Florida, and Commissioner Weldham's in Puerto Rico. And the public, this meeting is being live streamed. So if you are in attendance and you wish to speak during public forum, or you're asked to speak during one of our presentations, please go up to the microphone so everybody can hear. Otherwise, with that, we will call the meeting to order and rise for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, open forum. Is there anybody that wishes to speak in open forum, public forum? Anybody there?
There's nobody here, Steve.
Okay, all right. If not, we'll move on to the agenda. I believe there are a couple of additions or so. David, you want to handle that?
Mr. Chair, members of the board, there are two additions to the consent agenda. If we could add agenda item 4C, a waiver of variable pass-through for Changing Gates grant. There's no obligation on the county created by this. It just authorizes Changing Gates to apply for the grant and then receive the funds if they're successful. And then consent agenda item number 8F, new hire of a corrections officer.
All right. We'll look for motion.
Ludwig will move as amended.
Lupgren will second.
So we have a motion by Ludwig, second by Lovegren. Is there any discussion? If not, Debbie, you want to call the roll?
District 4, Commissioner Waldham.
Yes.
District 5, Commissioner Ludwig.
Aye.
District 1, Chair Holland.
Yes.
District 2, Commissioner Moore.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Lovegren. Thank you.
We'll move on to the approval of the minutes of the January 17th regular county board meeting and summary for publications.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes and the summary. Terry.
I'll second. More.
Motion by Lovegren, seconded by Moore. Any discussion? If not, Debbie, you want to call the roll?
District 1, Chair Holland.
Yes.
District 2, Commissioner Moore.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Lovegren.
Aye.
District 4, Commissioner Waldham.
Yes.
District 5, Commissioner Ludwig.
Aye.
Thank you.
We'll move on to the minutes, board reports and correspondence, the Pine County Chemical Health Coalition minutes from the 12th of January, Pine County Zoning Board minutes of December 19th, Pine County Surveyors Monthly Report for January 2023, Hinckley Annexation Correspondence from January 20th of 23, and the Minnesota Public Utilities Commission Notice of Comment Period, January 24th, 23.
I'll move them.
I'll second them.
Got a motion by Moore, seconded by Lovegren. Any discussion? If not, Debbie, you want to call the roll?
District 2, Commissioner Moore.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Lovegren. District 4, Commissioner Waldham.
Yes.
District 5, Commissioner Ludwig.
Aye.
District 1, Chair Holland.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. We'll move on to the consent agenda with the additions that were noted. You've had those that consent agenda in front of you for several days.
Ludwig will move. More.
Moore did it.
Okay, Moore will second.
Got a motion by Ludwig, seconded by Moore to approve the consent agenda as amended. Any discussion? If not, Debbie, you want to call the roll?
District 3, Commissioner Lufgren.
Aye.
District 4, Commissioner Waldham.
Yes.
District 5, Commissioner Ludwig.
Aye.
District 1, Chair Holland.
Yes.
District 2, Commissioner Moore.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to our regular agenda, Technology Committee report. There are some minutes that are attached. Committee met on January 24th. Josh, you wanna?
Yeah, I can go over it real quick.
Yep.
One of the things we did talk about is, I can't remember exactly, was it the last meeting of last year? We kind of got, our remote stuff kind of got hijacked a little bit, and Ryan did a very good job of getting that curbed pretty quick, but it did bring up some interesting stuff about how much availability we should have to the meetings. So we decided to continue to allow public comment at regular meetings and request an advance notice for remote public comment. We looked at some other counties, some don't allow it remotely. Some require a 2-day notice, some require a few other things. So the thing with that is if you want to have public comment remotely, you can request it. Pretty much what we decided is close right up to the meeting. Ryan can send you a link back, and then it's a little bit more secure than just letting anybody hop on there. Now anybody can join remotely and watch a live or anything. It's just a comment back and forth. Continue to post live stream address, to the county website. So that would just be participating or just watching. All other items, including live stream recording on YouTube to remain the same as meetings that are not live streamed, or if the technology is not available, continue to operate as current procedure. So it was just like I said, we looked into a few other counties, what they're doing, and we were really kind of setting ourselves up for problems. So we just had to take a look at it, and it's still pretty available. We do appreciate the public comment, but we just had to kind of shore it up a little bit. Anything else, Steve?
No, I think, that was a synopsis of a very long discussion. Because we really do not want to limit the public's ability to participate in a public meeting. But we have very specific times when people can speak at a public meeting, and that's called our public forum. And so we want to allow that, but if you can still drive to one of the sites wherever our meeting is held. But if you're gonna call in from your home or wherever you're at, you're gonna have to make arrangements and get a link from Ryan. So it's just, I don't know if everybody was aware of what was going on during the meeting, but Ryan had to do some pretty fancy footwork to disallow some kind of rotten stuff that was people were trying to play porno movies and all that kind of stuff during our regular meeting. So we just want to eliminate that.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
Yeah, what other counties have had the same issues?
I think any county that had an open, I don't know if I have a list, JJ, of people. You mean people that have
Josh,
had
maybe?
issues?
Yeah, Josh had mentioned he talked to some other counties. I'm just wondering.
Yeah. What we looked at,
Certain area or.
What we looked at was what they did for policies. And so we don't know why they enacted their policies necessarily. We just know anecdotally, we have talked to some people that have had some interruptions in their meetings. And some counties do not allow anybody to comment unless they're in person. There are a couple of counties that do not allow anybody to comment even if they're in person. So, but
Mr. Chair.
we don't believe that. So our board has been very open to comments.
On the agenda, I'm looking at page 60. And it does, Ryan did put some of that's in the technology committee minutes. So Carlton County, Chicago County, Isani County doesn't allow any public comment online. Morrison County, you have to have a 2-day notice. We thought that was a little much, Ryan. He's gonna kind of play it by ear a little bit, but he figures pretty much right up until the meeting, you could request to comment, and he can get that sent over pretty quick. Kanabec and Pine did allow it online, but then it's kind of got a little chart there that shows live streamed, where Carlton, Chisago are live streamed, Isani's live streamed, Kanabec is not, and Morrison and Pine, yes. But that's kind of, that'll kind of show you just a few, very few, if I remember, were as open as we were, right? In Minnesota. So that was, yeah. And you hate to be reactive, but it did make us kind of think a little bit and look at some different policies. And I think statute require it at all online. So, and the board or the meeting will still be available, will still be live streamed. It's just if you want to comment, you got to request that link. So
Are we going to put something on the website then? Maybe this should be directed towards Ryan, like instructions how to do this even on our Pine County website, and then even for the notification of these meetings, just to make sure, like for any special meetings or anything, it's easier for people to find out. Not a lot of people get the newspapers.
Yeah, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
Yes, we would put on the agenda itself exactly how to participate in the public comment period.
Right. And Mr. Chair, members of the board, we will post all of this on the website as well. And we will still have the item that has the live stream link to the website. And we would probably put on the same thing, that we would need to request the link, because that would be the only difference, is just requesting the link instead of it being freely available for anyone to kind of pick up and do what they want to do with. So
I'd like to say thank you for continuing to be transparent. There's so many people
Yeah.
that just transparency. I really appreciate that we do that for our residents. Thank you.
Yep. And I appreciate that, Terry. That was on the forefront of our what we were trying to accomplish. Any more on that, Josh?
I got nothing. Yeah.
All right. All
And
right.
Chair, members of the board, we will implement that for the next meeting. And then if you have continued thoughts on that, we can engage that whenever you'd like, if you get feedback or see how it goes. But we'll plan to start that with the next board meeting.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you. We'll move on to Facilities Committee. Who's going to take that one?
Matt, can you take it?
Go ahead, JJ, if you want.
Well, and Matt, jump in. We just talked about the projects going on at the jail. And I don't know how much I can say in relation to the body scanner or what happened down there and the need for it. But the Department of Corrections, as we know, has say on what goes on in the jail. And we're talking about the project down there for the remodel, and then the installation of a body scanner, and then also what I didn't know, something about a negative air room. Is that right, Matt?
Yes.
For certain health concerns.
Yep.
And that's about all I remember of it. Matt, if there's anything you could add, please jump in.
Well, we did, everybody here, we talked about, we put, dollars aside for the jail study because we found out during COVID that we had separation issues and we don't, even if I back up. When the jail was built, it was built like a pod system, which they don't even do anymore, but the DOC approved it all. Well, then in the process of, COVID and all that, when you try to separate people, it's not that lineal where you can box them in as rooms and living quarters, but big rooms and things like that. Anyway, so we did this study to figure out how we could create a separation inside the pods. So I won't get into the detail there because I'll let Rod do that. But anyway, so the first iteration of it was put a big addition on this and that, and we sent them back. No, we're not going to spend $7 million on or whatever it was on a remodel. So Rod's been working with the group, BKV, and they trimmed it all in so we stay inside of our footprint, and they have a model that's from, I think the lowest side is 2.7 million up to like 3.1 million. It's still a lot of money. And it'll be like 3 phases. There's a problem in intake, and there always has been, where that's the war zone when the bad guys are coming in from the squad from the Sally Port, and then you have to have separation. That's also our one spot where if we have mental ill people, we kind of, or there's those kind of problems, they don't go in the population and the other side. So there's a plan there. We just have to figure out how to pay for it, and then we're not ready to lay the plan in front of the board yet, but we're working on it. So we're trying to figure out funding. So if you guys have contacts now with the legislature, it's a good time. They're all over public safety. So we'd rather do a bonding versus try to. That's not a lot of money for the state, and and if they're doing jail projects all over, and you hear the Beltrami stories where what happens if you can't separate, you have to have more manpower, and it just because you got to keep eyes on them in the intervals and stuff like that. And we always have had a female thing too with separation. It's in a weird spot. They don't have a place to recreate. So we have to bring them through that. We had to bring them through the population. We had to lock all the men down and let the females get over to the rec room. So it's just was kind of weird. It was funny the Department of Corrections even approved the plan originally, but it is what it is. So we're trying to fix it. And the model that's there, if we do fix it, we might even be able to shut off the top mezzanine layer as a separation if we have to. And the reason it becomes important is recruitment and retention. So we're burning out employees, and it's like you saw the Beltrami story where the Department of Corrections is going to shut them down or only keep so much open because they've been running too short of manpower, and you have to keep eyes on the inmates. So it's a problem. We're working on it. But there's good things too. The projects we had, and we'll take questions there, but if you want detailed questions on the remodel, I'm gonna have Rod step up to help. Because I don't have that all in my head, and he's living that floor plan. And there are issues. Oh, that was the other thing. The body scanner is probably, no matter what we do, something we have to do, that Commissioner Jay Waldo mentioned, because things are getting into the jail in body cavities and stuff that are pretty hard to search. We can't search those, and the hospitals don't want to search them anymore. So, and we just had an incident. Stuff got in there. Anyway, so that's something that will probably have to happen sooner than later. So that's a cost coming at us. But there's good things to report on facilities committee too. So the jail camera, all that whole project is all done. The power supply in the courthouse, that uninterruptible, that's done. The front doors of the courthouse are going to be upgraded to include electronic crash bars that are better than they are now. And then remember when we were talking about the drying room up at the north office? I'll call it the central Pine County office.
Yeah.
It's not north at all. Anyway, that estimate now is down to $1,500. So anyway, a lot of stuff there.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah. If you have any questions?
Keep us up to date if we need to have a COW meeting just specific to jail as we move closer to having to decide something, we're certainly,
I would just like all the commissioners to call our representatives and say, hey, so they know, I've already called two. They're working on something, but they need to hear it from all of us and keep hearing it. That we have to do something, and we really shrunk it down to, I think, a manageable thing even for them to help us.
are we, what's our ask?
I would,
of that?
I say 3.
For bonding?
Yep, 3 million, which is not a lot for them to.
No. Okay,
Get 3.2, it's better.
we got our homework.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. I gotta, my little thingy keeps timing out on me. Facilities, Department of Natural Resources, parcel acquisition in Rock Creek. Who's gonna take that? Joshua?
So I'm Josh Kelch. I'm the Assistant Wildlife Manager for Pine County. I work for Minnesota DNR. I work out of the Cloquet office, but I cover Pine County specifically. We're approached by our partners with Pheasants Forever on a parcel down in the Rock Creek Township to acquire it, 160 acres. Ideally for pheasants, there's some ag land in it, mixed ag, some pheasant habitat, but then for deer, turkeys and the like. It's going to be done through a conservation partnership legacy grant. So typically if I would come in front of the board, DNR is specifically purchasing it, we would need a letter of approval from the board. This, I'm here to answer questions you guys may have about the acquisition. We don't need any formal, thing passed or a letter of support, but if you're willing to bring us a letter of support, we'd appreciate that. We just need to notify the county board, but I'm here to answer your guys' questions ahead of time, and then the notification would come through in a letter once Pheasants Forever has a purchase agreement in place.
Mr. Chair, is it, you want questions now?
Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Chair.
Yep.
I would think that this is a private land sale to the DNR, right? Or the setup is private ownership to you guys.
Private ownership will go to Pheasants Forever and then transfer to us.
Right.
Correct.
So the question for us as a board, I think, would be or the public is that person is paying a property tax now.
Correct.
So that would probably be the only thing that would affect us as a board, and we would, what would happen there? Because we don't want to interfere with any business between a private owner and something like that. So that would probably be our gray area, or what do we, so we understand it.
Yep. So when DNR owns land, we pay a PILT payment, it's a payment in lieu of taxes. So it's either $5 and $1, a little over $5 an acre, or 3/4 of 1%, whatever's greater. And that 3/4 of 1% comes off the appraised value, and that is reassessed every, I think, 5 years. So based on the 2020 tax assessment, the taxes on that parcel of $2,400, just an estimate, or $2,300, the estimated PILT would be $2,400. So it'd actually be based on last year's value, be a net increase in tax value for the county. I just can't until, once the sale goes through, obviously an assessment will probably increase. And so that value will go up from there, is what, I can't guarantee that, but that's what the expectation would be based on past trends.
So do you assess it then, or does our assessor assess it at that intervals?
Trying
does
to
that
remember.
The county assessor assesses the property.
Okay, so it's based on the county assessors. The county assessors value.
So we establish that number, and then that's where you.
Then we pay,
Then you-
just like a private person would pay taxes based off that
And you do
value.
the formula off of that.
Yep, then that formula is the same. In general, usually for timber and ag land, it's about the same, if not a little higher in this part of the state. So.
Okay, thank you.
So
I-
that we're going to
Yep.
the state help with PILT. And so any help that you can give us on that would be a benefit to get our PILT lifted. You know, down in southern Minnesota, they get a lot more for their PILT than we do up here. So any help you can give us would be great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. And I would legislatures about that as well.
We will.
But yeah, you know, it's something that we do because we realize that we're, you know, it's taken truly off the tax rolls, but it's coming back into you guys at least by that annual payment. So.
I got a question.
I just have a comment, and that is, the local Pheasants for Other chapter, and I believe Kenny Reed is there. And Kenny has been working on this project for a long, long time. And so, and is it Dennis Rice is also there?
Steve Dennis is with ECE.
Oh, okay. Okay. So, and
I got a question.
yeah. I
say,
just,
why
I just wanted to acknowledge the work that Pheasants Forever has done on this, and thank you for what you've done. Yeah, go ahead.
With this new, why is this one actually better than a dollar to dollar swap? When I say dollar to dollar, you have a private owner paying taxes of $2,400, and then why is this PILT land the same, or like you said, even a little greater? Why is that? I mean, if that's the case, shouldn't we be trying to get all of our PILT the exact same as this deal? Why is this deal different?
That's what we've been trying to do, JJ. That's exactly what we've been trying to do, because Kelly probably can explain it better than I can, because most of our PILT payments come from long-standing agreements on the places like Nemadji State Forest, and those were agreed upon rates many years ago, and legislatively they have not kept up with inflation on the rates that they're paying, and that's why we've been so aggravated over that.
This question would be directed towards the DNR person that's there. Why this one? Why is this one so much better than what we have going on now?
So there are different ownerships. You know, DNR is a conglomerate. You know, so most of the land in the county is owned by DNR is owned by the Forestry Division. So they're managing that solely for typically primaries, timber resources, and then that recreational value. Wildlife management areas are primarily managed for recreational value, habitat for wildlife, and then we do take timber resources off of them as well when we're managing for that wildlife habitat. We were approached by PF as an interest for this. I walked the site last spring, and we don't just go after every property that comes in front of us. I get a call at least once a month of people wanting to sell their property to us. And in my experience, it's got to be something unique, special, something that is unique to the public. This area it's got some older timber on it. It's got some unique habitat, and it gives us the potential to restore some native grasslands to this area, which we're lacking. And that just doesn't benefit our pheasants and game species. It also benefits pollinators and a lot of our bee species that are in decline. So this isn't just a property that we're looking at for just game birds. It's something that we can manage for all wildlife species and benefit the public as well. And a lot of our users are not just traditional, I would call hook and bullet type. They're not the hunters and stuff. We do get a lot of recreational use on our properties that are also people out walking their dogs, snowshoeing. So there's that non-consumptive use of our lands as well. I looked at this parcel based on it is unique, and the habitat that it would offer is different than what we have in our lands and wildlife in the county. And looking for something in that part of the county where we can diversify our habitats and offer something to the public that is different than what we have right now. Does that answer your question, Commissioner?
Why is this one then different? The tax formula, why is this one pay so much more in PILT than the other ones?
For our wildlife lands, this is the assessment we use. I can't answer what that assessment is for forestry lands and why that is different. That is nothing that I,
Wildlife pays more.
Well,
Wildlife pays this.
depends on the parcel.
Okay.
Jay, it goes back to those long existing formulas that were put in place. And it's not always up to the DNR to decide what those payments are. It's a legislative commitment that was made, and they have not kept up with inflation.
Mhm.
Mr.
Yeah.
And JJ, maybe this is helpful, but the statute lays out various classifications for tax forfeited land. Just like with property classifications, there's 50 some odd classifications. There's a law that lays out the different classifications of tax forfeited land. And so whatever category it falls under is how the PILT is calculated and paid. And so it's different for different properties based only on that's what the statute says.
Yeah, well, if it was all wildlife, it would all pay this rate, wouldn't it? Thanks for the info. Interesting.
So I'm here to answer any other questions.
Good, thank you. I'm good.
Thank you very much, Joshua.
Thanks, Josh.
You're welcome.
I would
We need action on this, Chair?
I would like to, because I'd like to the board send a letter of support, even though we don't need to.
I'll move that.
I'll second.
Got a motion by Ludwig, seconded by Lovegren. Any discussion?
Yeah, I have some discussion.
Yep.
If we're taking 160 acres off of the tax roll, and the DNR historically doesn't ever give it back or sell it back, I guess I'd entertain. I'd like to make a motion that we now take not during following Robert's rules of orders when I can, please. I would just like to say, if we're make a motion, if we're taking 160 acres, an additional 160 acres off, adding it to our 49,000 acres we already have that's tax forfeit, I would say we should now, if this goes, take 160 acres off of the tax forfeit, immediately put it up for sale, at least to get something back into private ownership.
Is that an amendment that you're trying to
Yeah.
propose to this
If
motion?
that would work. Yep, if that would work.
I'd like
You're
to,
taking 160 acres away from somebody privately to ever have an opportunity. Put the PILT and put the tax dollars aside for a second. We should then, out of the 49,000 acres, give or take a few acres that's already sitting there, tax forfeit, we should take the same amount as this and immediately put in and comparable land for sale.
I'd like
We're
to,
losing again. We're losing private ownership ultimately here. That's not good, in my opinion.
Terry, go ahead.
we have no control over who I want to sell my land to. So if I wanted to sell
I
my
understand.
forever and they wanted to give it to the DNR, we have no say in that.
Mhm.
Also don't know where Greg is at with land. And so I think that if you want to have that done, that you send it back to the land committee and we'll talk about that when we meet, which I think is going to be sometime next month or so. Or the next couple of weeks, Kelly just said. So we can talk about it there, but I don't believe that that's something that we should be doing today in this meeting.
Well, the DNR doesn't even need a letter of support on this either.
Right.
They said, right. So maybe we shouldn't do that
So
either.
the motion for an amendment, I do not hear a second for, so that will die for a lack of a second. We'll go back to the original motion. Is there any more discussion on that? If not, Terry, you want to call the roll?
But Debbie,
Or
Yeah, Debbie.
sorry.
District 5, Commissioner Ludwig.
Aye.
District 1, Chair Holland.
Yes.
District 2, Commissioner Lovegren. Or, excuse me,
That'd be
Commissioner
Josh.
Moore, sorry.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Lovegren.
Aye.
District 4, Commissioner Waldham.
I oppose.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
so I just want to make a comment back to JJ. Terry and I are on the land commission. So we will address that issue, and see what we can do. That's a point well taken by me. So, and we'll have that discussion.
Well, thank you, Matt.
We will bring that back, to the board.
thank you. We'll move on to the revolving loan fund.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, recall, some years ago, the county made a loan out of our revolving loan fund, and then we were advised by the auditor that we don't have that authority, that it has to be an EDA or an HRA. And so since that time, we have revised the HRA into an HRA EDA, and they are pursuing matching grant funds from the federal government. And it seemed like the opportunity to formally transfer those funds to the HRA EDA. And so that's the action requested today.
I will make a motion to approve that.
I can second.
Okay, we got a motion by Ludwig, seconded by Waldham. Is there any discussion on that? If not, Debbie, you want to call the roll?
District 1, Chair Holland.
Yes,
District 2, Commissioner Moore.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Lovegren.
Aye.
District 4, Commissioner Waldham.
Yes,
District 5, Commissioner Ludwig.
Aye.
Thank you.
we'll move on to the aquatic invasive species program. Who's going to take that?
Good morning, Mr. Chair.
All right.
I'm Caleb Anderson, the Land and Resources Manager in the Planning, Zoning and Solid Waste Office. And I come to the board meetings about this same time every year with this same concept. We're given an annual payment by the state for aquatic invasive species prevention programming. We've been doing this since 2014. We work very closely with lake associations throughout the county, as well as a couple nonprofits. The SWCD has been at the table, and we try to address the issues that are kind of evolving each year with invasive species. We've kind of settled into the program has looked pretty similar each year, but with a few different flares here and there. So each year we put out a request for proposals from all of those entities, and a great amount of the funding that we get is actually granted out to our partnering organizations. So each year to date, we've approved every request in its completeness or its entirety. So we get about $130,000 a year. We've underspent our funds a few of the last few years, so we do have some funding rolling over, which is $144,000 from previous years. So we have a total funding available of $267,000. With all of the requests, we have produced a budget for this year of $200,747.51. So it would still leave us, if fully funded, it would still leave us with funds left over to roll for next year, which would be to the tune of $66,859. So any questions on that? If not, my next thought was to kind of just give you an overview of what is in the 2023 plan. Okay.
Go for it.
Great. So the lake associations in Pokegama Lake, Cross Lake, as well as Windermere Lake, which composes of sturgeon and sand lakes, all have invasive species infestations, which they've been repeatedly treating over the years with herbicide. Pokegama Lake also does mechanical treatment. So they're proposing to continue that effort This year, there's a new find of aquatic invasive species in Upper Pine Lake over by Finlayson. And I didn't even know they had a lake association until they had this find of Eurasian water milfoil. So they're also proposing to treat the milfoil. So that's inflated that budget a bit. Cross and Pokegama are also proposing to treat milfoil, which in the past they've mostly done just curlyleaf pondweed, which curlyleaf has been much more of the nuisance species. But so the overall funding being requested for treatment of existing infestations is grown quite a bit this year, looking at about $103,000. For monitoring, the Wild Rivers Conservancy has worked with all of the lake associations each year, and the Lake Association hosts a boat and they go out and they do some sampling for zebra mussels in hopes that if we do have a zebra mussel infestation, we find it early and get it under control. Additionally, they're requesting funds for Phragmites, which is a wetland grass species. One of the uniquenesses that's kind of exciting about that roadside survey is that there is programming available through the University of Minnesota to actually manage the Phragmites if found. So it's good to know it's there or not, but that only brings you so far. So this could kind of leverage us for other resources to improve the habitat quality of our wetlands. The Rivers Are Alive program, Wild Rivers Conservancy also each year, the last few years, they've gone into the schools and done programming along rivers and biology, ecology, invasive species, things like that. And one of their theories, which I appreciate, is just kind of introducing kids to kind of the environmental science, and partly just to kind of foster stewardship as those kids grow up. The Watercraft Inspection Program will continue to do that. We've not had a great amount of applicants. There'd be room to grow the program a little bit. We've tried to increase the wages and stay competitive, but generally we've had about 3 to 5 watercraft inspectors working at the boat landings each year, which has been a good manageable amount for us in the office as well, for managing those people. But it kind of keeps us at our busiest landings and kind of peppering the other less busy landings to have some presence. But the vast majority of our inspections are done at Cross Lake, right by the fairgrounds here, Sturgeon Lake, and Pokegama Lake. And then we just have some funding included for educational efforts to make sure that we're still kind of getting the message out there. It's good to control invasive species, but one of our primary goals is to prevent further spread. We don't have any zebra mussels yet, so how can we continue to educate boaters so we keep it that way? Lastly, there are some administrative expenses. 25% of my position is paid out of managing this program, and Wild Rivers Conservancy has asked for some general support for their programming. So with that, I would entertain any questions. Otherwise, I have brought resolution 2023-07. Is that the right number? Or is it
03. 05. 05.
I trust Debbie. She keeps me in line on those.
I have a question, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, go ahead, Matt.
The landings, I remember back when this was first happening, do we have all of our landings, even on rivers, labeled? Was there a sign?
That's a good question. A lot of that work kind of predated my time here.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know how that worked either. I never.
It's a good point, but just for invasive species signage.
Yes.
I know we've responded to a number of
Special,
them,
yeah.
and we've added some over the years with
Okay.
cooperatively with the
And I
DNR.
know is that our job or the DNR's job, or do we work together, or how does that happen?
It's their jurisdiction to put signage. We wouldn't be authorized to do it, but they generally are thin for identifying
I
some of
get
that
it.
stuff. So we try to work with them.
Yeah, and then that would be, I was just thinking it would be in that prevention, I worry about the rivers too.
For sure.
The kettle, because we're working on that, and that may be something we can add into our
Watershed plan?
yes.
Yeah,
on
that's a
that
good idea.
upper- For those, because there's a lot of people run the bigger rivers now too. All right, thank you. That's all I had.
Anybody else have questions? I've got one, Caleb. When the associations do the treatment for milfoil or curly pond leaf, the results are very much just for that present year. Is that correct?
Yeah, they and the DNR kind of view it as management for that year's recreation. I mean, there's some effort to kind of catch it at the life cycle and repeat the same spots so that it doesn't create new seed for future years. But by and large, we're maintaining our ability to recreate in that given year.
Okay. Is there any research that's being done that can be more of a long-term solution that we know of?
That's a good question. If my colleagues have any ideas. I don't have a good answer to that.
Okay, that's all right. I was just wondering if that's a road that I'm sure somebody's working on it, but
Right.
it seems to me it's we suffer the same thing in agriculture. We spray the same weeds every year.
That's a great point. And actually, one thing I can share is actually the Windermere Lakes Association did get a grant through the DNR to do some data collection around their treatment where they're using a new chemical that they were not having great success with 2,4-D, which they'd used a lot in the past. And now they're using a new chemical called Procelicor. It's more expensive and it's inflated our budget a little bit, but it's actually working. So that's a good thing. But they are collecting data on kind of your very question is how much can we get ahead of this for the future?
Are they still rotating a different one each year so they don't build a resistance?
Right. And Procelicor is still new, so I think they're still kind of riding that a bit, but I imagine that'll be part of the strategy.
Thank you. So we're looking for a motion to approve this resolution.
I'll make a resolution to adopt resolution, or I'll make a motion, thank you, to adopt resolution 2023-05.
Thank you.
Moral second.
We got a motion by Lovegren, seconded by Moore. Is any discussion or any more questions? If not, Debbie, you want to call the roll?
District 2, Commissioner Moore.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Lovegren.
Aye.
District 4, Commissioner Waldham.
Yes.
District 5, Commissioner Ludwig.
Aye.
District 1, Chair Holland.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. East Central Energy Broadband Project. I think we have Ty online and
You do. Can you hear me?
Hi, yeah, I can.
Yeah,
We're
good.
pretty excited about this, a year, how long ago was it, Terry? 2 years ago when we started down this road of taking part in the Blandon Broadband Initiative. And we vowed we were gonna do better. We were gonna crack this egg. And you guys stepping up to the plate has certainly made, I believe, our dreams and hopes obtainable.
Well, yeah, thank you. It's been some good partnerships and just collaboration between counties and townships, and appreciate you letting us have a little of your time, and we'll hopefully get through this depending on questions. It's been about 15 to 20 minutes. Got 55 slides to share. I'm just kidding. 8 slides. So you're safe. But before we start that, I just wanted to share 2 other EC employees that are on the line, John Bosman and Dennis Rice. And John, do you want to introduce yourself real quick? I think many of the people know you, but you want to introduce yourself quick, and then Dennis right after that.
Sure. Hi, I'm John Bosman. I'm the business account rep that covers the Pine County area, and I mainly work with business accounts and have had good relationship with the county, worked with facilities and whatnot there. And I've been with East Central, almost 29 years now. And yeah, so I'll turn it over to Dennis.
Good morning. My name is Dennis Rice. I am the manager of broadband here at East Central Energy. I've only been here for about a month, but I come with roughly 18 years of experience managing fiber optic networks, installation, repair of all of the fiber network and the broadband infrastructure, formerly with CenturyLink Lumen. So thrilled to be here with ECE and help get this this network up and running and serving customers.
Thanks, Dennis. Thanks, John. So I'll kind of start. We've talked to the county in the past, and some of these slides may look familiar, but I wanted to just make sure, level set, everyone's on the same page, and what we're really looking to do, and really what we're asking for in terms of support. And so, sure, many of you are aware, East Central Energy is a member-owned cooperative, been around for nearly 90 years, serve about 65,000 members. Those are homes and businesses. So you can roughly double that for actual population. About 8,500 miles of electric line serving portions of 14 counties. And I say portions because I'll show a map in a second here. We don't serve all of Pine County, but serve a fairly large percentage of Pine County. So, and thanks, David, for, I think are you the one sharing the slide deck?
Ryan is.
Ryan is, okay. So I'll just, if you can advance to the next slide, please. And I'm sorry for the transitions. You'll have to hit one more time and one more after that. I kind of set these up. It was for myself to transition, but so we serve, again, parts of those 14 counties, and I'm sure you're aware of that statistic. I know Steve and Terry, we've talked many times about it. We served 87th out of 87 counties. That's Kanabec and Pine. I think they're teetering back and forth in terms of broadband availability. Mille Lacs County, Benton, and Northern Isani, also very underserved, unserved portions of the state. Been around 90 years. What we're really looking to do is serve all members, all ECE members, and not necessarily choose those high density pockets, but serve the true rural areas as well. And co-ops across the nation, electric co-ops in particular, have been doing this for many years, and we felt the time was right. And East Central Energy did the same. So next transition, Ryan. Thank you. So again, our goal is serving every member. This is a full fiber to the home project. There's no wireless built into this. It really is the gold standard of true fiber to the home, the highest speed capabilities that you can get. Blanketing, again, these entire 14 county area. And then, talking to Leslie and many other, the economic development folks at all the counties, the impact that this will have positively on Pine County and all those 14 counties to serve. I don't have to tell you all that. I'm sure you're fully aware. So next slide. And perfect. So the total project scope, I've talked about the mission already. Again, our mission isn't necessarily that we serve with our product. Some of the townships already have adequate fiber to the home options. And so we may compete at some point in time with them, but ultimately we want to get to the folks that just don't have much, if anything at all. So you can change that 320 to $350 million in total scope, about 6,300 miles of fiber. And the reason that electric co-ops are have been doing this successfully for many years now is we're able to use all the poles and infrastructure that we have in place. And so the return on investment by hanging it versus burying it is a pretty substantial difference. Next slide, Ryan. So this is just a map of our service territory. The red line gets kind of busy. Don't ask me who developed these back in the 1930s. It wasn't me, but the cooperative territory lines, I could talk for another hour or two on how that was formed and and how co-ops were formed back then. But ultimately, the red line is the boundary. The blue line would be our fiber backbone, and all the orange dots you see are our substations. So that is how we would serve all of our members. We serve them electrically via those substations. We would disperse the fiber the same way, following the lines, whether it's above ground or underground. Next slide. Perfect, thank you. So now specifically focusing on Pine County, you'll see that all the red lines are our electric lines. All the blue is the actual service territory. So you can see portions of, Hinckley, Asco, some of those other areas, that's all Minnesota Power. So we do not serve them electrically, but we would be serving anyone that lives in those, any of those red lines. We would give them the option to choose our internet platform. So roughly 13,000 members, just about 20,000 in population that we serve. Those numbers might be a little bit increased. That was from last year, but Pine County is 86.87. To serve all of Pine County will be about $75 million in total scope, with 1,400 miles of fiber needed. Next slide. So this is just a map of all of the current grant applications we either will be submitting, or the ones we've won. So hopefully you're all aware of the blue one in particular, and portion of the green. So the green, the blue, and the purple are 3 grants that we won in the 2022 Border to Border grant program through the state of Minnesota. It's about $15 million in total scope. And so thanks to the county and many of the townships that we worked with within Pine County, we were able to secure those with all of your help. And I'll talk about how that happened here in a second. And but the green, blue, and purple are grants that we won. The gray is a federal USDA grant that we're waiting to hear the results on. Hopefully we're hearing in February. So within the month here, we'll know the results there. And you can kind of see it does dip into Pine County, covers quite a bit of northern Kanabec and over into Mille Lacs. The pink and the orange and the yellow, those are the 3 new grants that we'll be applying for here in 2023. So obviously the one that impacts Pine County the most would be the pink. And we'll talk about that one a little bit more in depth here in a second. Next slide, right? So one of the, I talked about it, the support that we got from the different counties, in particular, Pine County, Kanabec County, and Isani County. Those were the 3 counties that the grant dipped into for that last round. We got over 80 letters of support. I think it was almost closer to 100 from just county offices, townships, businesses. And so that was a big part of our application process, was be able to provide those to Border to Border office or deed. And then we also were able to get financial commitment from all of the impacted counties, including Pine County, who committed the $300,000. And what we ended up doing, though, is we wanted to try to find a uniform metric for all counties, townships, and cities that they could apply, and was strictly based off of land mass coverage. So if a grant were to cover a certain percentage of your county, at a county level, we had a $2,000 per percentage point metric. And then at a city or township level, it was $100 per percentage point. So putting that in scale, if we were to cover 100% of Pine County, which we don't do electrically, so it'd never be this high, the maximum amount would be $200,000 that we'd be asking for. So, in the middle there in the white, that just shows you the Border to Border scoring system. So shows you the community participation, and in red highlighted is really that verified financial commitment from counties, townships, cities, tribal. So that's really, we were focusing on, we're trying to get 15 out of 15 on that one. We did hear back from DEED, and they said that our metric and our uniform approach, we didn't want Pine County battling Kanabec County or Isani County. We wanted everyone to give this flat commitment across the board. And they thought that was unique and something they hadn't seen before. And it was at a level where it showed that we worked with all of you, but it wasn't an astronomical price tag, right? So very doable from the county and townships perspective. Next slide. So now this looks at, sorry for all the maps. It's hard to, a lot of, again, moving parts with grants, but in the 2022 border to border grant program. So now taking those metrics that we utilized, we served, I think that it was more 19%, but I got the number wrong. The county allocated $300,000 back in 2022. We used our metric to say, well, let's apply 38,000 of that to these two grants. Now, you'll notice the red grant was not on the prior map. Well, that's because we didn't win that grant. So we were told from DEED that essentially they ran out of money. We won $15 million of the total bucket in the state of Minnesota was 95 million. So we won 15 out of 95, which we felt was a very big success, and we were happy to get it. Unfortunately, we did not get the red, we called it Pine North. So that was not approved. So we would not be following up with that $24,000. We will be following up soon, though. We're nearly ready to sign the grant agreements with the state of Minnesota to start working with Pine County on the 14,000 that would apply to the blue grant, blue area. So you're probably asking, what are we asking for today, or what are we looking at? Next slide, Ryan. And I think this is the last one. But again, this is the map, the pink area in particular. It'd be about 5 million, maybe slightly under that we'd be asking for in grants, and about 11 million that would be funded by ECE. And so if you hit enter one more time, Ryan, what we have been following the same metrics that we used in the past. We're covering about 5.5% of Pine County's landmass, which equates to that $11,000 mark. So there's really two ways to support our project. One of them, and I talked about it, were those letters of support, nearly 100 letters of support. We would definitely appreciate if we could refresh those. And I know John has been working with many of the townships, and we've already got some from, I think, different county entities. But a refreshed letter of support would be great. Those are nice. The deed office looks at those very positively to show that we have communicated and talked with all of you. And if there's any way you can personalize that for Pine County and what this would mean to Pine County, that certainly helps as well. So that would be one way to support. That doesn't cost anything. And then the financial commitment. I don't know, David, the 300,000 was allocated by Pine County. So to me, it almost seems like a little bit of a formality, but we want to be transparent with what we're doing and where we're looking to go. So it'd be taking 11,000 of that and applying it to this pink grant in particular. So I've said a lot. I'm sure you might have a couple questions, but I think that is the last slide. So any questions for myself or Dennis or John?
Questions? I of course have questions, Ty, but I'll wait.
Fire away.
The number one question I get is, okay, I live 10 miles east of Pine City in Shangotana Township. How long do I have to suffer before this is going to get here? Is it a 2-year build, 1.5 year build, 3 years?
So, yep. No, it's the same question we get. We get basically the two questions. When am I going to get it and how much is it?
Yeah.
So both of those things, if you haven't been there yet, I would encourage all of you anyone in the room, go to ecfiber.com. And we just launched that on February 1st. And so that site is a active map that will be changing throughout our construction build. And you can look at the map to see where we're going. It shows a nice big green area. That's more of our 2023 build. So about 900 miles in 2023. And then it shows from there, all those other areas. It allows people to sign up so we can notify them that, hey, we're in your area, we're building out and service is ready, or we're coming there. Your area is slated to be in 2024, 2025. Go back to our mission, right? Serving all members. We can't build it all in one day or 1 year, unfortunately. But we will be working with those members. I will say this, by getting more of your neighbors and friends to sign up on that site, that can impact our construction schedule. If we see a big pocket where there are a ton of members that are requesting or supporting, then that could impact going to that area versus another area. So best I can tell you, Steve, is it is a 5-year build. We're actually trying to shrink that down to 4 years and then have the 5th year be cleanup. So, starting with construction here in May of 2023.
Yeah, and I think, Ty, people understand that it can't be done by the 4th of July, but they want to know that, yeah, I can, if I know it's coming, I can suffer for another 18 months or 24 months or however long.
I'm personally in the 24-month range. I was trying to get him to, trying to see if we could work it more north. I'm just north of Mora, but
okay.
Yeah, so I'm a couple of years out as well.
Yep.
I was just excited to see my place on a map.
Sure.
I got a woo.
People are very excited. I have talked to several people that live on the fringes of not even having cell phone coverage, and so they're terribly excited. And it's just the way we all do business now, and it's hard to make a car payment hardly if you don't have decent internet. So
right. Yeah, it's so the business side, you met Dennis, he's our actual first hire as we spin this up. We've got 33 other positions in that model. So another, in my opinion, great economic development opportunity for Isani, Pine, Kanabec areas. And but it's very aggressive, 900 miles to 1,300 miles a year. It's a lot of fiber to get in place. So there's a lot of factors, a lot of moving parts, but that's still our goal. You got to factor in supply chain, contractors, permitting, all those different things that we have to have in place. And we're working on all of that. But yeah, definitely appreciate the support you've all given. And we've forwarded to David and Leslie. There is a templated resolution letter that would be if you wanted to apply that financial commitment. And then there's also a templated letter of support. Now, those are templates. You can have whatever format the county is comfortable with. We were just trying to make it easier for everyone to be able to fill in the blanks. And if you were to refresh the letter of support, we definitely would appreciate that kind of personal touch from Pine County. That adds a lot of value. Deed has given us that feedback. So yeah, with that, I guess, any other questions or things for myself?
Anybody?
I don't have a question, but I want to say thank you. We saw Jack from Pete Stauber's office last month when we were at a meeting for Mille Lacs Band, and he had asked if we had any grant issues or anything that we needed. We said, please work with ECE. So he goes, oh, yep, I know them well. So yeah. Just really excited about all of the people that you're going to be able to help. So thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you for your support, Terry. Appreciate it.
I do believe we have a resolution 23-03.
I will gladly make a motion to pass resolution 2023-03 and to also with that motion to do the letter of support and update that and get that sent out too.
I'll second.
Was that Josh?
Yep.
I got a motion by Lovegren, seconded by Moore. Any discussion, any more questions? If not, Debbie, you want to call the roll?
District 3, Commissioner Lovegren.
Aye.
District 4, Commissioner Waldham.
Yes.
District 5, Commissioner Ludwig.
Aye.
District 1, Chair Holland.
Yes.
District 2, Commissioner Moore.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ty, and your crew. We appreciate it. Keep us in touch and keep us in the loop and let us know if there's somebody we need to talk to or whatever. We'd be happy to help.
We will definitely let you know. So we appreciate the support and I'm looking forward to working together moving forward. So Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
We'll move on to setting a date for a special meeting, a couple of special meetings. Committee of the whole for March 14th and for April 11th.
It says April 11th or the 25th. Could we change it to the 25th?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Will that work for everybody else?
It's
And
easy.
Chair, Commissioners, the 11th and the 25th were just Tuesdays that didn't have commissioner calendar commitments. And so that's why they're suggested.
What was on the, oh, yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Me right now.
Do we need a motion on those?
Yes, please.
So I'll make a motion that we have committee of the whole meetings on March 14th and April 25th. March 14th would be at 9 o'clock at Pine County Courthouse. And April 25th would be at 9 o'clock at the North Pine Government Center.
And just to note, the April 25th meeting would start at the North Pine Government Center, and it's the annual road tour. And so we would
Yep.
then highways.
I'll second it.
Got a motion by Lovegren, seconded by Moore. Any more questions, discussion? If not, Terry, I got Terry, keep looking at her. Debbie, you want to call the roll?
District 4, Commissioner Waldham.
Yes.
District 5, Commissioner Ludwig.
Aye.
District 1, Chair Holland.
Yes.
District 2, Commissioner Moore.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Lupgren. Thank you.
All right. We'll go to some commissioner updates. Arrowhead counties.
Mr. Chair,
Anybody? Yep.
I did go, of course, we reelected the chair and vice chair, and they pretty much stayed the same as last time. I'm just gonna cover the couple highlights because it was a long meeting. Well, I gotta give you the first thing John Ongaro said though, because he said the legislature hit the floor running as soon as it opened with 2,000 some bills jacketed, which is more than they had since what did he, I think it was 1970 or something. Since 1970, that's the most bills they had just out of the box. Well, that was interesting. So they're flooded, but they're but the thing that I want to highlight that he reported on was he had a handout. I was remote, so I didn't get it. But the U.S. Supreme Court is hearing a case out of Hennepin County on forfeited property, and the implications big for Minnesota counties, because we're one of the 12 states that still keeps the proceeds from tax forfeited property. And if the case goes through, it has a look back of 7 years. So it's all a what if right now, but it's something out there. Are you aware of that, Kelly? Yes. Okay.
So who gets the money? The state?
Person that lost the property.
Yeah, it's protecting the person that lost the property. It's the whole premise of the case is government taking property from an individual, basically, based on not being able to make payments or whatever. It'll all depend on the court and how they interpret that. You know, governments have a right to tax. We know that for services. So we'll see where it goes.
All right.
And the rest was pretty much just a general Arrowhead County Board meeting, but that one jumped out at me.
Thank you.
I'm done.
Greater Minnesota Parks and Trails. That meeting, Terry, you didn't sign up for that, did you?
No, I thought you were going.
I was going, but it got I couldn't get on.
Oh, okay.
That was probably my fault, but anyway. I tried. Snake River watershed.
Well, Bowser approved the plan, so we are one step ahead. It's fully approved and ready to go. We're still having issues with how it's going to be ran, if it's gonna, with the committee, if it's gonna have solid waste members on it or just county commissioners, or that's SWCD. Maybe the wrong one.
Yeah, whether SWCD should be voting members or not.
Gotcha. So with that, we have Aiken might have flipped maybe to where we want to have soil and water members on the board also. He did say that he's from the military and he believes that teamwork is better. Mille Lacs did a vote and they were 4-1 that it would be county commissioners only, and Kennebec was going to talk to their attorney and their administrator. So we'll see what happens in a couple weeks.
All right.
Mr. Chair, just.
Yeah.
Pine County's position is that the SWCD should get a vote. And all the other one watershed, one plans are set up with SWCDs getting a vote.
Right.
Better together.
I've come to really appreciate them on the Lower St. Croix watershed board. Anyway, Lakes and Pines, we met last Monday. A lot of new members, so I would say most of it was other than just the usual pay the bills and approve the grants. Most of it was introductions and getting to know the new people. So Lower St. Croix partnership, we met. There's some really great projects going on right now. And Pine County is got some people that have really stepped up to the plate and worked with some local farmers. We have a pretty small footprint in the whole Lower St. Croix watershed, but we have some people that have been very interested in doing things differently or better, what they better on their farm. And one of the targeted areas has been the Rock Lake and Rock Creek watershed. And so there are some people there that have already implemented some pretty great projects and have some more on the books. So that's good to see. Let's see. Who's next? NLX, did they meet?
Were you able to go? I think they did meet, but I went to a broadband thing instead.
Okay. Housing, HRA, Economic Development Authority, anything there?
I went, Mr. Chair, thank you. Most of the meeting was a general operation of the two facilities, and which everything goes along with it, but they're going smooth. Had a couple moves and vacancies, but they're gonna fill quick after they get the rooms shaped up. So that's good. And then they had that, which we approved today. They started that they want to start a revolving loan fund. And that's why we moved those dollars today. So that's a step into really establishing the, projects or economic development in a way, shape, or form to really started tying those two together. They approved their auditor again, the same one that's the company. I think that's pretty much the highlights of it, isn't it, Dave?
Mr. Chair, I would just add that today is the Minnesota Chapter National Association of Housing Officials Day. And so Leslie Sauter and Mary Kay Sloan on behalf of the HRA EDA are down in St. Paul. And so this is a legislative capacity that we had not used in the past. And so it's just one more opportunity to be down in St. Paul supporting housing in greater Minnesota.
Good. Thank you. Pine County Education Leadership meeting.
It was good. Becky did a presentation on the family resource centers. And with that, it was in our consent agenda that we have an administrator that was just hired for that, and she'll be starting in, I think, a week and a half, maybe somewhere in there. Kayla Roberts from Hinkley.
Yeah, cool.
She's got a lot of experience doing this type of thing and working with the Mille Lacs Band, and she's gonna be amazing. So we're excited about that. And then we had a update on Pine Tech. A lot of good conversation.
Good,
Yeah, it was a good meeting.
good.
We should probably talk
Did-
about SROs and the funding.
Oh, yeah.
You want me to do that or?
So one of the things that was brought up by the other school boards was, it was brought up by Jeff. We talked a lot about the SRO program, the school resource officer. And currently Pine County, every school district is, am I correct on that? In some way, shape or form, not, Pine City contracts 40 hours, I think, a week. And a couple of them are
Yeah,
20.
and I can give some of the
Okay.
detail if you let me do that. So East Central and Hinckley school districts are at 20 hours each per week. And then Willow River is at 10 hours. And so we bill those out at about 67% of what we bill out for the policing contracts. And so it was the Willow River District that raised the issue at the previous meeting of would the county be interested in underwriting that cost a little bit more because there is a benefit to the county. And that's an issue, and Sheriff Nelson is sitting in the back of the room, so I'll speak for him until he gets up and wants to correct me. But the conversation we had is if the county is going to bring more money to the table, it's a decision of, do you want to underwrite more cost of service you're currently getting and charging out, or do you want to add new capacity? And I think the sheriff would say, as he does every budget season, we really need to add a deputy to increase our capacity, not charge less to service, the jurisdictions we're contracting for. And so I think the commitment that we made with the school districts is that sometime between now and the 2024 budget, the county board would have conversation on that topic and how it wanted to partner. And the sense that I got from the school districts is they're very satisfied with the program. They're very satisfied with the way it's being run and the service they're getting. They just use general education dollars that they would prefer to spend on other things than on the SRO. Is that fair, Sheriff?
Sounds about right. So if I understand this right, it's a conversation that has begun and it needs a lot more conversation to figure out how it would work and how we would come up with the money to do it.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Any more on that? If not, Central EMS.
Yeah, it's a perfect segue into my one I'm going to. We had our meeting yesterday. And I'll just roll this into a nutshell. You've heard me say, there's seatbelt dollars are going down. And just because of compliance, which is a good thing. And that's basically was the main funding stream for this. So right now that group, which we're a member of, the 11 counties, is gonna be able to operate through June of 24, and then we're done. So their push yesterday was they want to come to our county board, and I said, wait, hold on, let me handle that, and we'll see if we need you to come to the county board. But they want to say each county that's going to belong to the group is going to pony up 15 grand in January 2024. That's just the idea they're playing with right now. They do not, Governor Walz didn't have any funding in the budget for a Central Minnesota EMS. That doesn't mean something isn't going to come out of there, because there is conversations happening at the state level. John Ungaro had those in his report up at Arrowhead. So that they're not even putting them on as a talking point for Arrowhead to carry. But that being said, so I jumped in there and I said, this thing was founded back when there was that mass casualty training and there was stuff, those communications weren't the same between counties. And a lot of counties ran their own ambulance and services, which we were one of. And, that was all happening. Well, times change. So I don't know what the model is anymore, because recruitment for first responders is, I'm sure, struggling like everywhere else. So I don't know what's going to happen. So do you fund something just to fund something? I don't know this. I don't know how much we use it. I called, I was doing a little bit of research. I'm not getting anywhere. We're like, I talked to the sheriff. He says, we train our first responders through Pine Tech. I called the lady at Pine Tech. We get our funding through somewhere else. But then I called Mary and said, well, they get some dollars from us, which is not a lot. And the whole premise of this was to train first responders who are volunteers that don't get paid. That's kind of what this was, and to supply equipment. So personally, I think it's changing a little bit. And the other side of that, this group is kind of tied to ambulances, but we have our fire departments, which belong to a different group, and it has different funding. So, and those first responders were training underneath this one too, but there was some EMS or SB dollars coming through there, but it was never enough. So if you ask me, the thing is kind of a mess with the funding streams, because it's like you have two groups, they're kind of doing the same thing. And you remember a couple of years ago when I said, hey, the people that are just the first responders, like working as EMTs or whatever, they respond from home and they beat us to the crash. Like my whole career, those guys out in Carrick or whatever, they were there 20 minutes ahead of me doing business, So I was a strong supporter, but they got no money. So we were trying to work on them. Well, why don't you just attach to a fire department? Remember when I had that discussion a couple of years?
Yep.
Attach them all to a local volunteer fire department. I don't know the answer, but I know there's going to be a lot of discussion, just like we just talked about with the other one. And I think everything is changing. Emergency services are changing, our communications are changing, the way we do everything, and then who's going to respond? People are afraid right now, to go out on these calls because of what's happening. But my biggest worry is because of our opioid problems. I read the headlines in our paper, our local paper. We still have to do something, and we're good for another year. So I'll quit blabbing about it, but I don't know. I don't know what.
So there's no region in the state that has it figured out?
And then we need to figure out what we need too. Jeff, do you have any problem getting your guys trained? Could you get your naloxone somewhere else? Because our ambulance services, then we just have to worry about our fire departments. And they kind of worry about themselves and work through Pine County to get their stuff. I don't know that. I don't know the answer to that.
I have a question about this. We know that marijuana is going to be legalized in this session. Pretty close to knowing that it's going to happen. There's going to be a lot of money spent on that, and that's going to create a lot of issues for police officers, our first responders, or everybody, with that being legal. Is that something that we could ask for tax money from the sales of the marijuana? I think it would be a good income source.
I think the
Just a
statute
thought.
is clear on what we can spend. The tax for forfeit, you mean?
No, just from the sales of marijuana. So if I go to buy some, I'm gonna have a sales tax on that. Could we?
Oh,
use
I
some of
see what
that
you're saying.
sales tax
Oh,
for
yeah,
this?
I don't know.
It's good. it would be a good source of income.
I don't know. I'm hoping the conversation at the state will figure it out. Someone is gonna have to take the lead in the room and say, let's just put these two things together and be done with it.
I sat in on a legislative thing the other day, and it doesn't sound like they're doing a lot of talking on it. I think they just want to get it passed.
My guess is there's a turf war, Terry, with fire departments and ambulance people.
Okay.
That's my guess.
Yeah, I just know it's gonna affect a lot of our safety personnel.
That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
All right. Keep us in the loop. I don't believe the Greater Minnesota Parks and Trails Legislative Day got attended by anybody. If I hear something, I'll let everybody know. East Central Regional Juvenile Advisory Committee.
I went to that meeting also. That's my group. So the good news is we have 3 counties jumped in. Well, I should say this. 2 counties jumped in, then Minnesota Prairie Alliance joined. So 5 new counties joined the group, which is good and bad, which I'll get to. And then there's another county that's might be coming in March. That'll be 6. So what that does is we have our bed, but there, it could more easily be where that place is full and they're gonna have to figure, we pumping in, so, and they're busy. There's been an uptick, so. And then we had a surplus of $96,000 and there's some projects coming that we know we have to maintain in that building, instead of spreading back a little bit of money to each member county, we just voted to put it into the capital reserve for doing the projects, get stuff up to speed for some repairs. But I'll keep you posted on that too.
Thank you. Did anybody go to the pipeline safety program?
I did.
All right.
Reached out to David, who reached out to Jeff, who said that it might be a good idea and we'd get maps. So I went, I think I drive down the road now looking at those pipeline.
Yeah.
You're just more aware of things that are going on. The things that they're the most concerned about are cat drivers and the 49ers, the people that are doing the work there. And they talked about farmers digging up some tiles and ripping out the gas pipelines there. Talked about an accident down south where a couple people died. It was a tractor got stuck. And so they called another tractor that came to pull them out, and the other tractor went to pull them out, and then their tile got stuck on a gas line and it blew. So, just being conscious of what's going on. And what I came out of there probably the most aware of is that it's beneficial to do these things so that we can support our employees better. There was a lot of information and a lot of firefighters and rescue people that were there. It was a good class.
Was our highway department there, Terry?
There might have been. There wasn't anybody from Pine.
Okay, we should, when this comes up again, I'm glad you went. I used to go years ago, but I think it's we should make sure I thought of it too late to make sure our at least one of our highway road bosses get there,
Well, and I
because
think
we're working in right of ways all the time.
Jeff had said that you can do it online too, correct, Jeff? That there's an online.
There is, yes.
Yeah, so we
Yeah.
can have them do it online.
Yep. Anything else? You got any other?
Yeah, got one more up here. I don't know if you gotta flip your page, but the AMT work group thing.
Yep.
Just put this, you guys, there's that thing on was it in your pack
Yes.
that explains probation?
Yep.
Talk about it. I just put that in there. I don't know if all the commissioners understood how the probation systems are funded in the state, and there's 3. There's a Department of Corrections, a DOC CPO, which is what we are, county probation, and then the CCA counties. And it explains the funding streams, and I don't have to get into doing that, but we're a CPO, and ours is basically like up to a 50% reimbursement. The other 2 get allotments or subsidies, so. And it has good traction. Oh, if I go back to the Arrowhead meeting, the five of the counties up there on the meeting had not done the resolution yet, so I sent them that letter from AMC and I got an immediate response from John Garl that he's packing the mail, so they all signed on.
Okay.
He wants to get all 87 counties signed into that probation funding, so.
Yeah. Good. Thank you.
I have lots of others, sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
The TNT through NACO, we were voting on resolutions. And one of the ones that is really good is cell phone coverage. We have so many areas in our county that do not even have cell phone coverage, so there's no way that they can use their broadband on their phones because they don't have coverage where they live. So that's one of the big resolutions that are out there this year, is getting the cell phone coverage to the unserved and underserved areas. And then that you can't have any cost or hidden fees. So that's kind of where they're at, is if you're gonna, they said, one guy signed up for some broadband and all of a sudden he got this huge bill for like $800 because they said, oh, you've got this much for setup fee and then your fee is actually this much. And so they said that just to make people be more transparent. And then I sat in on a US preparedness for nuclear and radiological disasters. It was really interesting listening to how other parts of the country are getting prepared for, because of the war going on between Russia and Ukraine, there's a lot of fear. And so, you know, like Florida, they've got a lot of things going on down there to be prepared, in Texas. And then there was a guy in, oh, where was he? In the middle of nowhere. And he was really concerned because they have a lot of FedEx that's hubbed out of there. And he was afraid that something was going to happen to them. But I mean, it was interesting to hear what people are doing. They said Ukraine supplies 30% to Europe and other parts of the world. So if there is a war and if things do happen, what it's actually going to do to everybody because of that. And then I did a Internet for All National Telecommunication. That's where I was during the NLX. And it was put on by AMC, the League of Minnesota Cities, Townships, and Connecting One Minnesota Workshop. A lot of information out there was the counties talking about what their needs are and the cities talking, and just bringing everybody together to talk about where we're at and what we can do to help each other. You know, what the townships can help the counties do, or how we can help ECE, or just all these different things, and getting phone numbers of people that we can contact. So it was an 8-hour meeting. It was, but it was good. And then, I went to the Project Rise meeting, which had to do, it was probation and courts and, oh gosh, everybody. The schools were there. And I just have to say, you know, and after sitting at the leadership conference for the schools and the county, we should be proud of ourselves for the way that we all work so close together. I look at the schools, how they rely on our sheriff's department, and how they rely on our probation department, and how they rely on human services, and just watching that teamwork go on. I was just really impressed. There's going to be a fishing for the youth on February 18th on Cross Lake that Kevin Glass is putting on. They usually do it up in Sturgeon Lake, but this time they're going to have it down here. Yeah, I put on here, great turnout, amazing leaders in Pine County. We are very blessed. They said vaping is down, which was interesting. But they said the verbal abuse is really bad. The way that they're verbally abusing their principals and their teachers and that type of, they said that that's gotten really, really bad. So Pine City School District has actually put in vaping monitors. So at first they had them up, and then they said they hadn't told them yet, but they were going to be able to tell exactly who was vaping wherever. So they're doing a lot of things to stop the abuses in the schools. And that's what I've got.
All right. You've been busy.
Yeah, it was a good month.
Thank you. Anybody got anything else? If not,
I did sit in on the legislative update also. So there are a lot of proposals that are going in, a lot of money coming. There's a lot of money for broadband, a lot of money coming in for mental health. So we need to keep track of what's happening and just, you know, really push for how we can help our residents out of that money.
yeah, and I think our biggest thing, Terry, is you know, not to give up on broadband until we're all the way to the finish line.
Right. Right.
And as we start building out part of the county that we're, you know, we can't forget about the people that aren't being connected. So we got to work just as hard for them.
Well, you know, one other thing that they said during that is that they're talking about increasing the state tax in the metro area for transit. But they're also looking at doing a delivery fee. So if you order from Amazon or any of those companies and they deliver to you, they want to start with like a 40-cent fee for that. That would go to the state, and then it would raise to 45, and they would continually increase it. So that was kind of a new thing too.
Terry, would that be dedicated to transportation?
Well,
know,
that
or is it-
8% sales tax in the metro, it sounded like that was dedicated
Yeah, I
for
meant the-
transit, but
that
it
fee.
didn't really say if it, oh, the fee, I'm not really sure what they were gonna do with that. They just said that they were gonna be doing a delivery fee. They talked fast and I can't write as fast as they talk.
You catch it next time.
Yeah. We'll find out next week or 2 weeks. Yeah.
Well, there's plenty of meetings coming up. Do what you can. Thank you all.
Have a good day.
Yeah.
That's a meeting started. It's up to 70 degrees here now.
Yep. See you guys.
See
Take
ya.
care. Have a
Bye-bye.
great day.
Yeah.
JJ.